Chapter 10 New Life. G'day everyone, Rune here, and this is Chapter 10 of my What If Ash Became a Pokemon Ranger story. If you're new to this story, click the link in the description below to be taken to the playlist. Now let's begin the next chapter. Ash sighs in exhaustion as he and Gary sit down at their little makeshift campfire. He hadn't realized just how late it had been when they arrived at the safari zone until the sun had started setting and they still hadn't made it out of the jungle zone. He smiles as his attention is drawn to the little Paris next to him, tugging at his pants leg. Reaching into his pocket, he pulls out a chesto berry before handing it to the little bug type. Paris's eyes sparkle with joy as he takes the berry and begins to munch on it. Gary curls up close to the fire and tells Ash to get some sleep. They'll need their rest for tomorrow. Ash nods before looking up at the stars above them. He hopes that their Pokemon aren't too worried, and that Misty was able to get back to the entrance. Meanwhile, over with Misty, she and her new allies are hiding in the long grass or the river surrounding Dragonair's nest. After spending the day planning and preparing, they're as ready as they'll ever be to face the poachers. The night is quiet, only adding to the tension as they wait. When the group hears the sound of figures approaching through the tall grass, tensions are so high that Misty has to physically hold Vulpix back from attacking, just in case these aren't their targets. When the figures emerge from the thicket, they are revealed to be a blonde-haired woman and a teal-haired man wearing rocket uniforms. Misty grits her teeth. Of course, it's Team Rocket. Again! She gives the signal, and Lapras begins to flood the area with mist, making it harder for the intruders to see. Turning to Wooper, she whispers her instructions, taking care to ensure the Rocket members can't hear her. Nodding with determination, the little blue Pokemon trots off into the mist. With that done, Misty turns to her last two remaining allies and signals for them to follow her. Slowly, they creep forward, until they're standing between the Rocket Grunts and Dragonair's nest. Now in position, Misty tells Vulpix to strike the ground in front of the two rockets with Ice Beam. Vulpix does as told, creating a small barrier between them and the rockets. Startled by the sudden ice barrier, the blonde demands to know just who dares to oppose them. Misty calls out from the mist, telling them that she's the gym leader of Cerulean City, and that if they want to get to Dragonair, they're going to have to go through her and her allies. The two rockets laugh before launching into a motto, introducing themselves as Cassidy and Dutch. It sounds like a knockoff version of the one Jesse, James, and Meowth always said. That thought makes Misty pause for a moment, realizing that it's actually been quite a while since she and her friends ran into those three. Shaking her head, she focuses back on the two Rocket members in front of her as they tell her to get out of their way before she gets hurt. Misty tells them that they're the ones that are going to get hurt if they don't turn around and leave right now. Have it your way then. Together, the two Rockets call out their Pokemon, with Cassidy calling out Raticate and Clutch calling out Primeape. Not wanting to give Misty or her allies any chance, the Rockets order their Pokemon to attack the location of her voice with Dynamic Punch and Super Fang. The two Pokemon rush the location with their attacks readied, only for Primeape's fist to strike the ground and for Raticate's fangs to close around a rock. Then, from the mist on either side of them, twin ice beams rush at them. Panicking, the Rocket Pokemon jump back to their trainers. The two ice beams meet in the middle, where the Pokemon originally were, causing a mini explosion that forces the mist back a little, revealing Misty, Vulpix, and Marill. Cassidy and Botch laugh, telling the gym leader and Pokemon that they're done for now. Grinning cruelly, they order their Pokemon to attack, with Raticate using Shadow Ball and Primeape using Rock Tomb. The two smaller Pokemon dodge the attack, but the attacks then go sailing in a direction that they very much don't want them going, in the direction of Dragonair's nest. Refusing to panic, Misty calls out to Wooper. A few seconds later, there's a flash of green light and a boom as the two attacks collide with a Protect. Standing just behind the barrier between it and the nest is Wooper, grinning triumphantly. Taking advantage of Gotch and Cassidy's shock, Misty tells Vulpix and Marill to launch another dual Ice Beam. This time, the attack hits, freezing the duo and their Pokemon solid. As the mist dissipates, Misty and her allies breathe a sigh of relief until they hear a rustling coming towards them from the other side of Dragonair's nest. Spinning around, Misty is just about to tell Vulpix and Meryl to attack when the familiar face of the Warden pokes out from the tall grass. Spotting her, his expression transforms into one of pure relief. Before Misty can get a word out, he turns to shout over his shoulder, "We found one!" He pulls himself out of the brush and begins to approach, swiftly followed by the 2 aides she'd seen at the gatehouse. The Warden asks her if she's alright before spotting Mitch and Cassidy in the ice and asking who they are. Misty explains the situation with Dragonair and the Team Rocket members, feeling a little sheepish over her breaking the rules in order to get Vulpix, Meryl, Lapras, and Wooper to listen to her. The Warden places a hand on her shoulder with a reassuring smile. He tells her that, given the circumstances, they completely understand why she felt like catching these 4 was her only option. Besides, there's no harm done. They can just release the Pokemon now since the crooks are captured. Misty smiles with relief, glad that there's such a simple solution. Or so she thinks until she reaches into her bag and only finds 2 Safari Balls. Panicking, Misty tips out her entire bag onto the ground, causing its entire contents to tumble out. A change of clothes, a fold-up fishing rod, several empty Pokeballs, 2 potions, some berries, and the Soothe Bell she got from Mr. Fuji, but no other Safari Balls. Before they can begin searching the area for the balls, however, Dragonair calls out, drawing their attention. Turning to her, Misty can see that she's looking right at her, and gesturing with her tail for Misty to come closer. Hesitantly, Misty approaches until she sees that all the eggs, including her own, which she'd placed in the nest for safety, are glowing. They're about to hatch! Dragonair nudges Misty's egg towards her, and Misty picks it up gingerly, like the egg could crack if she held it with anything but a paranoid level of care. Misty is surprised when Dragonair uses her tail to pull Misty into a position where she's in the nest and can see Dragonair's eggs, but the eggs can't see Misty. And by the same token, Misty's egg wouldn't be able to see Dragonair. This is when she remembers something that Ash mentioned when she first found her egg. Baby Pokemon usually imprint on the first living thing they see as their mother. Dragonair wants Misty to see her eggs hatch, but doesn't want to risk her eggs imprinting on Misty by mistake, or that Misty's egg will imprint on Dragonair. Feeling incredibly blessed to be able to see this moment, Misty sits tight as she watches both her egg and Dragonair's. The first to hatch is Dragonair's. 5 tiny little Dratini emerge from their eggs with the cutest yawns Misty has ever seen. The 5 babies blearily open their eyes, and the first thing they see is their mother. They rush up to her with happy cries as she nuzzles them all in an affectionate greeting. Misty smiles at the sight before her attention is drawn back to the egg in her arms as it shakes. Sitting down, she makes herself comfortable with the egg in her lap, waiting for it to hatch. Within moments, the shell cracks at the top and crumbles away, while a pair of little holes form at the front and bottom of the egg. A pair of little arms poke out of the holes at the front of the shell, while 2 little feet poke out of the ones at the bottom. A little head pops up and out of the egg, revealing a tiny face crowned by 5 soft spikes. The tiny Pokemon, still carrying the majority of its shell, yawns and slowly opens its eyes. Their eyes meet, and Misty can feel tears staying at hers as she sees the absolute trust in the Pokemon's gaze. Hello there. The little Pokemon smiles and reaches out its arms to her, giving a happy Bucky! Misty holds the baby Pokemon close as she looks over her shoulder at Dragonair and her babies. This is what it means to be a trainer, to see these beautiful moments that make you proud to call yourself one. With the Dratini now hatched and imprinted on their mother, the Wardens approach Misty, taking care to walk around the nest so as not to disturb the new mother or her babies. The main Warden holds out a hand to help her up, which she accepts gratefully. In a calm and gentle tone, he explains that they weren't able to find the other 2 Safari Balls, and it's entirely likely that she dropped them among the tall grass or in the river during her planning or the battle. He assures her that they'll do a full sweep of the area and find them, after they've located and retrieved her friends. Right at that moment, the walkie-talkie at his side comes to life. Lifting it up, he speaks into it for a few minutes before turning back to Misty with a grin, the receiver still next to his ear. The other search party found the boys. Turns out they'd ended up in the deepest part of the safari, which is why it took them so long to find them. He then blinks and frowns at the walkie before asking the person on the other end to repeat what they just said. He listens for a moment before turning to Misty. Miss? Do either of your friends have safari balls? I don't think so. Why? Because they were found with an entire horde of Pokemon which are now following them to the front office. Misty blinks. Once, then twice. Her brain tells her not to do it, to not even dare. But she does it. She bursts out laughing. Once everyone is safe and sound at the office, Misty is reunited with the boys, who immediately take notice of the baby Pokemon in her arms. Immediately recognizing the pattern on the Pokemon's shell, Ash and Gary ask if this is the Pokemon that hatched from her egg. Misty confirms, introducing her friends to Togepi. They spend the night in the Warden's sleeping quarters in order to get a proper night's sleep in a proper bed. The next day, they bid farewell to both the Wardens and the Pokemon that had helped them in the Safari Zone before continuing on their way. They still need to get to Fuchsia City. 3 days later, the Wardens have completed their sweeps of both the tall grass and the river, and have still not found either of the missing Safari Balls. The head Warden is honestly beginning to worry that they were somehow eaten by a Pokemon. They have a few Lickitung, and it wouldn't be the first time they've eaten something they shouldn't. He frowns as one of the search parties asks if anyone has seen Vulpix or Marill lately. There's a chorus of no, and the head Warden wonders where the two Pokemon could have gone. They usually stick to their usual stomping grounds, yet no one has seen them yet. He wonders if they've gotten a taste for adventure thanks to Misty and have decided to explore more of the safari. Oh well, he's sure they'll turn up soon. They're not in any danger of getting captured with the Safari Balls Misty used still active, so there's no need for them to worry. And that, everyone, is where I'm going to leave this story for now. Join me next time as we witness an evolution and Ash, Gary, and Misty finally reach Fuchsia City. I'm Rune. See you next chapter.